not ready to have that conversation, but I'm willing to have the conversation of, are you worried about Giannis Antetokounmpo's durability? Because I am, obviously, after seeing what we saw over the course of the last few weeks. We kept going back to the reasoning of 2021. Oh, he's superhuman. We saw what happened. Hurt his knee, missed a few games. He came back. He dropped a 50-piece, won the Bucks an NBA championship for the first time in 50 years. Yeah, he did do that. And it's no fault of his own, but he wasn't able to play in the series. And given the injury and the severity of it, he probably wasn't playing early on if they were to somehow advance past the Pacers either. 800-990-3776. Your way into Mr. Irrelevant, a special Potawatomi Sportsbook edition with you. 800-990-ESPN. Your way into the show. Asking you today, who or what deserves the most blame following the Bucks' loss to the Indiana Pacers in the first round? Second year in a row, the Bucks are eliminated in the first round. I mean, there's enough blame to go around, obviously, but I'm curious in your mind what you think the number one cause was. Is it the coaching changes? Is it management? Is it Giannis, the GM? Was it health? I think all of those are fair reasons. I think they all play into what the hell happened over the course of the last week and a half between the Pacers and the Bucks. But I just can't overlook the disastrous season that was for the Milwaukee Bucks. I said this last week on Mr. Relevant, which you can find available wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and, of course, YouTube, ESPN Milwaukee, ESPN Madison. It feels like 3 seasons were kind of jam-packed into one for the Milwaukee Bucks, right? So it starts all the way back in October when the Bucks trade for Damian Lillard towards the end of the offseason. And in the matter of 48 hours, we're going from Damian Lillard gets traded from the Blazers to the Bucks. He's being introduced in Milwaukee. It's media day. The season's about to ramp up. And you're jacked about the opportunity ahead for what was viewed, I think at the time, as debatably the league's best 1-2 punch in Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And then things are good, but they're certainly not great early on in the season, right? You're in good position. You're the 2 seed for a majority of that first half of the season. The Celtics are setting themselves apart, and they did all season long. They're the best team, if not in basketball, certainly in the Eastern Conference by a mile. But you've got the Damian Lillard trade, and then you have Adrian Griffin, the new head coach, coming into town. And it just doesn't work. And Giannis, who vouched for the hire, who said, yeah, that's the guy I think we should hire, all of a sudden says, yeah, maybe it's time to move on. And then you've got that weird Joe Prunty era, the assistant coach, who was the interim head coach for 3 games. People forget about that weird in-between where everybody's just wondering, what the heck's going to happen now? And they call up our friends at ESPN. They say, hey, man, we're interested in talking to Doc. The Doc is in. Marquette legend, Milwaukee guy. Bring in Doc Rivers. Bring him back to where he played his college ball. And they do that. And then you go into the All-Star break. And I feel like that was kind of the tweener period, right? That's almost season 2 because that week felt like a month or a full season. Because you've got Doc Rivers, who's been on the job for, I don't remember exactly what it was, maybe 9 or 10 days. And he's coaching the Eastern Conference in the All-Star game, just given where the Bucks were sitting in the standings. Not often a second-place team fires their head coach midway through the year. So Doc Rivers is down in Indianapolis, where ultimately the season ended. How poetic is that? And he's talking to media, and he's making excuses like he always does. And you're just thinking to yourself, oh, boy, I don't know if he's going to be the guy to turn this around. And then like a bat out of hell, the Milwaukee Bucks fly out of the All-Star break, win several in a row in convincing fashion, beating the Timberwolves, beating the Suns, beating teams in convincing fashion. And you feel as if, oh, okay, this team might be cooking all of a sudden, right? They might actually have the winning recipe with Giannis and Dame, and at some point Pat Beverly's inserted into the starting lineup to help with some of that perimeter defense. And you think, okay, maybe. Then they lose to the Raptors and the Wizards. You go, no, this is a nightmare season yet again. And it certainly was, as the Bucks lose in 6 games. Bucks in 6 has a different meaning today to the Indiana Pacers as Giannis goes down towards the end of the regular season. Oh, man, it is just absolutely a brutal way to die for the second year in a row for the Milwaukee Bucks as a higher seed, home court advantage. A team comes in here and punches you in the mouth, and you just never really respond. The Indiana Pacers responded. If we think back to Game 1 and what the Bucks did to them in Game 1, And then game 2 comes around, and it just never really felt like the Bucks had a chance in series after that. Alex Strofe with you. It's Mr. Irrelevant on 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee, the ESPN Milwaukee, ESPN Madison YouTube channels. Justin Garcia will join me in a bit to talk all things Bucks. On the other side, I do want to hear from Damian Lillard, who it's a long audio piece, but I do want to hear from Dame on the other side of the break because he had something to say, right? There's been a lot of speculation and a lot of talk, especially over the course of the last week. Dame looks miserable in Milwaukee. Dame hates Milwaukee. He's totally going to leave Milwaukee after a season. Damian Lillard commented on that for the first time last night after the series loss. So do want to hear from Dame on the other side. Justin Garcia will join us later in the hour, but do want to hear from you. Who or what deserves the most blame for the Bucks' downfall? I'll give you my answer to that. On the other side, it's Mr. Relevant with you live from the grand opening of the Potawatomi Sportsbook right here on ESPN Milwaukee.
More Mr. Irrelevant coming up on 94.5 ESPN.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6759. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6759. That's 800-575-6759. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
You ever have one of those days when you just couldn't come up with the right answer? Well, I know one answer that pretty much solves all problems. Ice cream. Yeah, it's the answer to everything, right? And right now, at Quick Trip, our rich, creamy, straight from our dairy, Nature's Touch 1-gallon pails of ice cream are just $4.99. Yeah, now that's an answer worth digging into. Come on, be a problem solver. Bring home some fresh, delicious Nature's Touch ice cream, only from Quick Trip.
With a local Milwaukee team, Fifth Third Bank knows what success looks like. They've been serving businesses and individuals in the area for nearly 15 years, including a long-standing commitment to the healthcare industry. From expansion to treasury management, Fifth Third offers a full suite of financial services and solutions across the healthcare spectrum to meet the complex moments you're navigating. Fifth Third Bank, National Association. Custom solutions built around your goals. Member FDIC.
Multiple sclerosis is an unpredictable, often disabling disease of the central nervous system. We need to show support to people with MS, and one way is through Walk MS, which is brand new in 2024. We embrace and are committed to bringing our entire MS community together, representative of all the various dimensions of our community, so that everyone feels at home and supported by the National MS Society. The excitement is building for the new Walk MS. Come see the community come together like never before. Visit walkms.org today and plan to join us around Wisconsin.
Do you have a car, boat, ATV, or motorcycle taking up space in storage or your garage? Homer here, asking you to consider donating it to Rawhide Youth Services. Co-founded in 1965 by Bart and Cherry Starr, Rawhide is a local faith-based nonprofit organization dedicated to inspiring and equipping at-risk youth and their families. They need vehicle donations to support their mission of helping troubled youths transform their lives. Visit rawhide.org/donate and learn how you can help today.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog, because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
The Club at Lac La Belle is the birthplace of golf in Wisconsin, with a rich history you will feel once you arrive. Experience a round at the Club at Lac La Belle. The historic course is open to the public 7 days a week starting Sunday, May 5th. Schedule your tee time today at clubatlaclabelle.com. This is a golf destination that you will want to play over and over again. Enjoy fine dining and event space after your round. An historic past meets a vibrant future. Go to club@locklabel.com to start your journey.
All day, every day, the new Potawatomi Sportsbook is the place to be for wagering on any sport, team, player, or game. A state-of-the-art venue with seating for over 200, a VIP deck, first-class bar, and 2,000-foot video wall. Stop in at any one of the self-service kiosks at Potawatomi Sportsbook today.
Mr. Relevant rolls on live for the grand opening of the Potawatomi Sportsbook, my future home. I haven't found an apartment yet. I'm going to live here. It is just terrific here. Huge video wall, 200 seats, full capacity of 419. I mean, dude, I heard a rumor it's 24/7 too. I'm not going to leave. I'm just going to live here. Anyway, we're talking Bucks end of seasons. They fall in 6. Bucks in 6 has a new meeting today as they fall in 6 to the Indiana Pacers last night. Brutal game. I was sitting in the 3rd Street Market Hall having a few drinks last night. And our director of content, Brian D., who's in the room right now, but he was also at the 3rd Street Market Hall having a beer. I walked over to him about 3 minutes into the game. I just said, I'm worried. He said, nah, a lot of ball game left. I walked over to him in the 2nd quarter. He looks at me and goes, Strouf, I'm officially worried. And rightfully so, as the Bucks fall to the Indiana Pacers in Game 6. Asking you today, 800-990-3776, your way into Mr. Irrelevant, 800-990-ESPN. Who or what is the most to blame for another failure of a postseason for the Milwaukee Bucks? Reading some of your responses. Dan in Milwaukee on the text line says, Dame Lillard. He was never happy here. We'll talk about that in a second. Tyler in Milwaukee on the text line just says, age, in all capital letters, A-G-E, age. And yeah, they had a lot of it this year. They were the oldest team in the league, and it certainly showed. They did not have the legs down the stretch that championship teams need. And Indiana proved that, man. Indiana had the legs. When you look at their role players, I mentioned it earlier, their 2 top scorers from last night came off the bench, Obi Toppin and T.J. McConnell. 21 and 20 respectively for them in Game 6. It's hard not to look at management and say, hey, man, this was a lost season. I like the Dame move. I really like the Dame move if you can keep him for another year or two. But the coaching hire initially, making the midseason fire, is anybody wondering to themselves as Bucks fans, hey, did we maybe fire Mike Budenholzer a little early? Did we maybe give up on that a little early? Let me know what you're thinking. 800-990-3776. Want to hear from the point guard, Damian Lillard, who made his return last night in the Milwaukee Bucks' final game of the season. And he finally addressed what Dan just said, which is Dame looks miserable. Dame doesn't want to be in Milwaukee. Dame hates it here. He wants out already. One and done. Just like the kids that go to Kentucky and Duke. Dame Lillard in Milwaukee, one and done. Damian Lillard, for the first time, addressed that after the season finale last night. Here's Dame.
When things don't go as planned, like I said before, I don't say a lot. So sometimes when people, make a read, oh, Dame, look, he doesn't look happy. I don't think I've ever run around on the court smiling. My disposition has always been that way. But I think, people they're going to look at everything and try to make something of everything. It's been some hard times. I haven't denied that one time this year. Basketball and personally, it's been some hard times, but it's never been a issue with Milwaukee. I get the opportunity to play with Giannis. I'm playing with veteran players. I know that the only thing we playing for is the opportunity to win the championship, and that's why I made the decision to be a part of something like this. But I understand that the chatter and the gossip and all of those things come with the territory. I know that criticism comes with being on a team with high expectations.
It was never an issue with Milwaukee. He understands the gossip. He understands the chatter. So I'm not sure what to make of that from Damian Lillard, because I think what I hear there is Damian Lillard wanted to be here because he can win a championship with Giannis. He name-dropped Giannis, which is always a thumbs up when you hear somebody vouch for that relationship after a brutal loss in the first round of the NBA playoffs for the second year in a row. for a team that has championship expectations. We've been through this a million times with the Packers, right? 13-4, 14-3, 15-win seasons. Poof, postseason's over. First game, you lose. And here you are again with the Milwaukee Bucks for a team that won a title a couple years ago. I said this earlier today to somebody I was talking to when I was kind of debriefing the Bucks season that was, which was the most chaotic NBA season period, flat out, that I remember in a really long time for a single team like the Milwaukee Bucks. Head coaching changes, star power, injuries, chaos, always losing to bad teams, beating great teams. It just never really made a ton of sense this season. But I said to somebody earlier, you know, I think Dame wants to be back, but I'm not sure I believe myself. Right? I think Dame wants to be back, but I'm not sure I actually think that, is kind of how I phrased it. Because it seems, if you listen to that answer and take it at its 100% worth, it sounds like Dame wants to win a championship in Milwaukee with Giannis Antetokounmpo as his co-star. Right? 1 and 2, Giannis and Dame. And then you fill in the pieces alongside them. Chris Middleton may or may not be a part of that next year. Brooke Lopez, probably not a part of that next year. The way you saw the Pacers role players, guys that came off the bench, completely outwork the Bucks in that capacity the entire series should probably tell you, they might need to retool quite a bit. They might need to retool quite a bit. So we will see in that capacity. Greg on the text line. The blame is simple. More commoners need to get on board. Blame the big money guys who don't perform when needed. It's time to trade the divas, Giannis and Lillard, while they're still worth a lot. Dump early rather than late. See regular season Rodgers. Greg, unbelievable. The blame is simple. Get rid of Giannis and Dame. I don't think you want to tear this thing down to the studs is the issue. I don't think you want to grab a bunch of draft picks and just hope it turns out the way it did for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Sam Presti traded all of his assets. It took a few years in the dumps, and now it seemingly is paying off. We'll see how much of a run the Thunder can make this postseason as the Western Conference's top seed. But look at the Philadelphia 76ers, right? They tanked for a million years and it didn't work. So getting rid of Giannis and Dame at this point seems as stupid as what Pat Beverly did last night to me. I don't love that. I don't love that. 800-990-3776. Your way into Mr. Relevant. Who or what deserves the most blame for the way the Bucs season went down? And you can certainly blame the health. But that Giannis note, only 3 of the last 11 playoff games he's appeared in. That's just not a fun stat, right? When you think of guys that are ultimate game changers, he's at the top of that list in the entire association. But when it comes to health issues, this is now a couple of years in a row where it's hit at the wrong time. You can't win a championship without Giannis. I don't think anybody would argue that. But you haven't had Giannis, really, much of the last 3 playoff series. That terrifies me. The durability of Giannis Antetokounmpo is terrifying because I'm not ready to move on by any means from one of, if not the best player in the NBA. But when he's not available in the biggest moments, when a team desperately needs him, that's just hard to deal with, man. It's like Tom Brady tore his ACL every year in the wild card round. Or now Mahomes, I guess, in the NFL. I worry about that. And I didn't expect to see Giannis last night. I just thought maybe they would find a way to pull through. Dave from Aaron on the text line, 800-990-3776. He is one of those Bucks fans that says, hey, I always thought it was dumb getting rid of Budenholzer. Wheeled onto the floor, and he hasn't even won a championship yet, talking about the Packers. Emphasis on the yet part. Dave, I like your optimism on a day that's rather pretty pessimistic. The Packers are winning it all this year. I got a kiosk about 10 feet to my left here at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'll place it for you, Dave. Packers winning the Super Bowl in 2024. Now, I don't know on the Budenholzer part. I felt like a change of scenery could be good for both sides, and I still believe that. But I don't know that we do know. Adrian Griffin wasn't the answer, but I didn't know at the time of the hire if he'd be the answer. First-time head coach, dealing with a bunch of superstars that have never played together. I just never loved the optics of that hire, and clearly neither did John Horst and the rest of the ownership and management once he was fired 30-plus games into his career as a head coach. Doc Rivers was the best available coach on the market when you made the move. So I'm not going to give them a hard time about hiring Doc Rivers. It was the right move. But how do you pick up the phone? Let's say you're John Horst. You fire Adrian Griffin, and you're having regrets, right? You're sitting there in your office. You're thinking, maybe I messed up. Maybe I shouldn't have fired Mike. You're not giving him a phone call, but do you think about it? It's a fascinating question. I doubt it, but I don't know. Anyway, 800-990-3776. You're into Mr. Relevant. Alex Strofe with you from the Potawatomi Sportsbook. It is gorgeous here. If you're watching on the video stream, they're setting up a sign behind me, which they're going to do here in the next commercial break. But you can see the massive televisions behind me. I'm on the second level. The first level has all these cushy recliners and chairs, and the bar stools aren't even the most comfortable bar stools I've ever sat in. This place rocks. It's open 24/7. I'll see you here at 4 a.m. tomorrow. I'll probably still be here. Potawatomi Sportsbook. Unbelievable. It's Mr. Irrelevant. Justin Garcia, the Milwaukee Bucks Radio Network, joins me next right here on ESPN Milwaukee.
Mr. Irrelevant is back after this on 94.5 ESPN.
Attend Biz Expo May 22nd at Brookfield Conference Center. Learn how to build a legendary brand by creating raving fans from keynote speaker and author Scott Wozniak. Attend strategy seminars on company culture, business growth, AI and cybersecurity, leadership, exit planning, tax savings for business, and more. Network and connect with your peers and the region's leading product and service providers. Biz Expo is Wednesday, May 22nd. Register to attend at biztimes.com/bizexpo.
At Gruber Law Offices, we take great pride in helping those who have trusted us after a serious accident. Our team has the knowledge, resources, and experience to get you the results you deserve. Don't wait to get the help you need. Make the right call. Call Gruber Law Offices today. Proud partner of your Milwaukee Bucks. One call, that's all.
Kessler's has diamond pendants for Mother's Day.
Diamond pendants for only $70.
Mother's Day celebrates motherhood.
And it's always appropriate to give a Mother's Day gift to a mom.
Diamond pendants for only $70.
Your mother is a mother.
Your wife may be a mother.
Your girlfriend may be a mother.
Your sister may be a mother.
Your grandmother's certainly a mother.
You might even have a coworker who is a mother.
Motherhood needs to be celebrated.
Always.
You heard the part about the $70, right?
Giving a diamond pendant to a mom who wasn't expecting it is one of the greatest joys you'll ever experience.
The surprise on their face when you say Happy Mother's Day is worth 10 times the price you paid.
They'll remember that gift forever.
And you will, too.
Welcome to Kessler's, where you can buy a diamond Mother's Day pendant for just $70.
Welcome to Kessler's.
For the location of the Kessler's nearest you, visit KesslersDiamonds.com.
A season of award-winning golf at Sweetgrass and Sage Run is on the horizon. The Island Resort and Casino stay-and-play golf packages are booking fast, with choice dates available early in the week. After your rounds, visit the Drift Spa for a relaxing or targeted massage session. And enjoy dinner at Horizon's scenic top-floor steakhouse. So many reasons to take a drive. Book your stay-and-play golf package today. Visit islandresortgolf.com.
The only thing that tops our selection is your savings discount liquor. If it's a celebrate or tailgate, when you're gonna recreate upstate. If it's a holiday, birthday, any date, you can save at discount liquor.
Baseball and tailgating. Two of Wisconsin's traditions are back. Have you made a game plan? Hi, this is Marie from Discount Liquor. For over 60 years, we've been part of the starting lineup that makes your tailgate an experience. With over 2,000 varieties of beer, 4,000 types of liquor, and over 8,000 wines, we're your pre-game headquarters. It's not a game without a tailgate, and it's not a tailgate without a stop at Discount Liquor, where we literally have everything you need to get back to your baseball traditions. So before you head to the ballpark, head to Discount Liquor. 2 area locations, in Milwaukee on 51st and Oklahoma, and in downtown Waukesha on Main and Barstow.
Discount Liquor.
What do you get when you combine grilled-to-order deliciousness with only the finest Wisconsin cheeses? Cousin Sub's new Wisconsin cheese steaks, featuring either steak or chicken, bacon, cheddar cheese, sautéed onions, and their new Cheddar Supreme cheese sauce. It's a match made in dairy heaven. And the decadence doesn't stop there. Pair your Wisconsin cheesesteak with their new Orange Dream Shake. All are available for a limited time only. Order in store, online, or via the mobile app. Cousin Subs. We believe in better.
This is Mr. Irrelevant with Alex Strofe on 94.5 ESPN and streaming live at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
It started with a whisper.
Mr. Irrelevant rolls on live for the Potawatomi Sportsbook grand opening today. I'm Alex Strofe with you. Ashton Rotman back at the Group of Law Offices. One Call That's All Studios at the Avenue, running the show for us today. And joining us now in person at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. You hear him before, during, after every single Milwaukee Bucks season, or every Bucks game all season. He is the great Justin Garcia joining me now. Justin, hello.
Hello. Pretty liberal use of great, but I'll take it.
You tell me that every time.
Yeah.
I think you're great. Just accept it.
We're done here.
All right, great. We got it. We'll move on. So sleep-wise, how'd we do last night? Late one for you. You were on the air past midnight.
Yeah, enough. I think about 3 hours.
That's not enough. That's unhealthy.
No.
But so was the way the Bucks played in the postseason. Hey-oh, ding, ding, ding.
The way they played, not so much. At least not as much. I mean, it was really health was the big thing. I mean, Doc Rivers tried to be as respectful as he could to the Indiana Pacers because, look, credit to the Pacers. I was very skeptical of what they would be able to do. You never know how a team is going to respond in those moments when they haven't been in the play. Like Pascal Siakam was all of their playoff experience, basically. Closing out teams are hard. We saw that on Tuesday night, but they did it. So credit to the Pacers for that. But as Doc pointed out, you know, the elephant in the room is we didn't have number 34 for the whole series, who averaged about 50 points a game against the Pacers in the regular season. We missed Dame for 2 games, and, you know, anybody's going to struggle with that. The Bucks are the first team in league history to win a game with their top 2 leading scorers out of a playoff game. So that's what they were up against. And even despite that, you still felt like there was a chance because, again, not intended to be disrespectful to the Pacers, but it's not the Miami Heat from last year.
No.
There's no Jimmy Butler on that side. It's not Eric Spoelstra you're going up against. It's not a hardened veteran group that has that experience. So I think that's what kept the hope alive of, hey, they forced a Game 6. Maybe they could get it to 7. If that happens, you never know what happens, but just couldn't get it there.
You're totally right about that. And the question that keeps popping into my head is I saw the little stat you sent out yesterday about Giannis and his availability in the postseason. He's only played 3 of the last 11 playoff games?
In 3. So he's basically played 2 because one of those was Game 1 last year when he played, I think, 10 minutes and then left.
Very brief. So the durability of Giannis, and I understand it's really only been in the later parts of the season and into the postseason the last 2 years. But I'm worried. It's not great when you're missing the aforementioned elephant in the room, number 34, and you have 2 first-round exits 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of ways you could go with it. I'm sure that's going to be a big part of the narrative, so I would just encourage Bucks fans, maybe ignore a lot of the national perspective. Sure. It'll save you from some frustration. But that's going to be brought up of, look, 3 straight years. And I think part of it, too, is it's the balance of what's an excuse versus what is the explanation, because it's hard not to point out this 3 straight years that injuries have been a major factor for this team. I mean, I think 2022 is really the year you would point to because it felt like that was the best group. You were defending the title. You lose Chris Middleton. You still took the Celtics to 7 games. It's hard not to imagine that team reaching the finals if they're fully healthy. But, you know, it's kind of what we talked about with the roster last year and just the overall results of, well, they've come up short again. It's the definition of insanity, right? And it's kind of the same conversation with injuries of, well, is this just what it's going to be for this team, or have they just had really bad luck 3 straight years?
Yes and yes. Probably the answer. Justin Garcia with us here from the Bucks Radio Network. I'm Mr. Relevant. I'm Alex Strofe with you. We're live at the Potawatomi Sportsbook today, the grand opening of the Sportsbook. Terrific space. Justin Garcia rolls in, and they start hanging up banners behind him here in the radio booth. You're that big of a deal.
Yeah. I mean, I used to have my own banner, so I think we need to swap that out. But, yeah.
You used to have your own banner?
Yeah. Logo and everything.
Wow.
We'd put it up at press conferences.
No kidding.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to it.
Well, we better get on the case. We have until next season, though, to worry about that. As we're talking Milwaukee Bucks, their season ends last night in 6 to the Indiana Pacers again in the first round. It seems, and you just mentioned the national narrative, and of course there'll be conversation around Giannis's durability. Everybody says Dame looks miserable in Milwaukee. But if you're in charge, right, the obvious answer is to definitely keep the core, if you can, of Dame and Giannis, and then retool around them.
And Chris.
And Chris.
Yeah.
But does that put you in a position, if one of those guys goes down, like they have the last couple of years, several years?
Well, I mean, the whole thought, and I suppose we should say this too, the Bucks are a super team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think you and I talked about this before. You don't have Giannis and Damian Lillard and not consider yourself a super team. 100%. I know we like to dismiss that because, hey, we're just the plucky, upstart, blue-collar Milwaukee, but you are a super team. And more often than not, it doesn't work out in your first year. It always takes that second year because of the adjustments and how much it shifts for everybody involved. So that was always what the Bucks were up against. I talked about this last night, too, in that the optimized version of that pairing of Giannis and Dame, in all likelihood, comes next season. Mm-hmm. But it's another year older. It's a year where you're approaching a walk year for Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez if, you know, this group remains intact. And again, the whole 3 years in a row that injuries, you just start to run out of time. So that's the danger with pinning your hopes on that. But, you know, I do think what we saw with that group, look at the playoffs. You know, if you had Giannis, I think you see, all right, look at what Chris Middleton did as that guy, and he would be bumped down a line as your third scorer. Look at what Damian Lillard brought you. Even as he was inconsistent throughout the regular season, a lot goes into that. But look what he gave you in the postseason. If you can have Giannis, you look at that and you say, yeah, this works. This makes sense. So the big thing is I would be shocked if those 3 guys are not a part of this team next year. What happens after that, I think, is anyone's guess. But you got to get younger would be ideal, but you have to get more athleticism and playmaking. The younger part is tough because you're a veteran team. You're not just going to say, hey, half our roster's young. It doesn't work that way. But you got to find some more athletic players on the wing, and maybe you have 2 of them on your roster right now that you started to see this season that Doc Rivers can work with in an offseason in the training camp, and A.J. Green, and obviously everybody's favorite, Andre Jackson Jr., but what they do on the margins is going to be the big part, and they are going to have the availability and ability to do some of that tinkering this year, because I do believe one of the benefits of eliminated in the first round is some of those bonuses don't kick in for players, so that means they're probably going to avoid the second apron this year, which we did not think would be possible. And that means they have some more tools at their disposal to retool that roster.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating offseason for this Bucks team. And the big splash from last year didn't come until October when they traded for Damian Lillard, and that big news broke. So I'm very intrigued to see, you know, the route in which they go. But you kind of mentioned it. Role players, it might come from development. It might come from free agency. But Indiana smoked them in that department when it came to the bench.
And look,
and I understand the health thing, right? Obviously, a couple guys get kicked up in the starting line, but
yes, and it's not just the health. I mean, when you have Giannis, Dame, and Chris Middleton, your bench isn't going to give you scoring. Like, you're getting the scoring from your starters. Your bench needs to be what we saw traditionally under Bud, where it's defense, role players, don't give up the lead. We're going to give you a 10-point lead. When we take you off the floor, make sure this isn't we're trailing or a 2-point game. And that, you know, again, it's an older group on that second unit. That's what started to slip. So that's, I think, the biggest thing to address with this team. Everybody's going to point to Brook Lopez, too, and you'd love to get younger and more athletic at center. Sure, and I think it's worth having the conversation of, do you ultimately need Giannis to play the 5? Is that where we're headed towards? Then it depends on who's playing the 4 next to him. But, you know, for the longest time, Chris Middleton was the most underappreciated guy. He got some of that respect in 2021. I would hope he got even more what he did in this series. It's kind of shifted to Brook Lopez. That it's easy to look at the end of the play and say, man, Brook is old and slow and he's getting beat. There's so much that ties into it, and nobody was impacted by the loss of Drew Holiday more than Brook Lopez was.
100%. That's well said. Justin Garcia with me here on Mr. Relevant. Justin, of course, at the Bucs Radio Network. You hear him all over the radio network throughout the course of the Bucs season. As the Bucs season comes to an end last night, Bucs in 6 has a new meeting. Their season ends in 6 to the Indiana Pacers, 120-98 the final from last night. Hey, Justin, I've been meaning to ask you the question everybody's wondering. Do you subscribe to Pat Beverly's podcast?
I mean, even if I didn't, I wouldn't say that. So, yes.
Yes, you do. But what's going on there? Why did he do that all year? He wouldn't let reporters interview him unless they subscribe to his podcast.
Look, we've seen the videos. I don't know how frequent it was. Look, he's a self-promoter. It's the way to get the podcast out there and increase the downloads.
You and I are each fans of professional wrestling, WWE, etc.
The sweet science.
Yeah, the sweet science, indeed. Is he a heel? And is he playing the heel role by asking everybody, hey, unless you can't interview me unless you subscribe to my podcast?
Well, again, he didn't ask everybody. I think it was just unfamiliar faces that he would bring it up to. He never asked me, never asked Dave Kane, or I don't think he asked Jim or Eric Name. So
that's good, at least.
He's one of those tweeners where it just depends on what you like from your superstar. If you're more lean towards the heel or you lean towards the baby face, he can cover both, kind of like Bret Hart in '97.
Such a good analogy, my man. What did you make of his kind of meltdown, though? Right, he had the exchange at the end of the game where he's throwing a basketball into the stands. Then he kicks Melinda Adams out of his little circle after the game. I mean, it's not a good look for a dude who's 35 years old.
No, it's a lot of frustration. Obviously.
Right.
I don't know about the spat on the bench. I'm not going to speculate. You've heard two separate sides of it and what went into that, but the big thing was obviously clear frustration there that this did not go the way that you would have hoped, and as an advanced age player, a 35-year-old, and somebody with a number of postseason games under his belt, you would have hoped it would have been handled differently. We don't know what was said or what was done on the bench portion of it. The locker room is completely separate. But yeah, I just took it as frustration, and it's the thing with Pat Beverly. You love him when he's on your team, for the most part. When you play against him, you hate the guy.
Yeah.
But it has worn thin at a lot of stops. Doc Rivers is the one guy that's really connected with him, though. So that's, he's an interesting guy for this offseason, too. When we talk about free agency last year, it was big pieces for the Bucs. Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton, and you had to figure out, too, guys like Jay Crowder, are you bringing them back? What does this ultimately mean for Giannis? It was essentially a free agency for Giannis. This year, it's all the role players. So, that's at least the good parts in that you don't have any of those major decisions to make and wondering, a guy that's going to be very important to us, does he want to stay here? It's retooling your bench and finding some of that youth. And does that mean Pat Beverly comes back and is here again with Doc Rivers? Danilo Gallinari, Jay Crowder, those are your free agents coming up, the big ones, the notable ones. So it's a much better spot to be in than they were a season ago. I mean, that's to me the big takeaway, as disappointing as the end to it was. And I'm not here to suggest it wasn't. Hey, the team fought and they made 6. True.
They really fought hard.
But with the expectations, it's not good enough to where you want it to be. But they are in a better spot this offseason than they were last offseason. The challenge is, how much longer is that window open? Has it stayed open? Is it starting to close at a rapid pace? Those are the questions that need to be answered.
Yeah, no moral victories, as you almost went down that rabbit hole when you have championship expectations. But I'm with you, right? I view, we mentioned it earlier, those three, Chris, Dame, Giannis. I think this team might look dramatically different outside of that next year. I don't know how much different, but I would imagine quite a bit, especially the bench portion.
Well, and Malik Beasley's a free agent too.
Right.
You don't own his rights. He was on a veteran's minimum, so not to get too into the minutiae, you don't have his bird rights, which means There's no chance of re-signing him.
Bird rights. Is there other animal rights?
The bird law we could get into as
Really?
well.
Wow.
It's basically no chance at re-signing him unless he takes a veteran's minimum, which I think some fans would say, well, that's probably what Malik Beasley is going to be looking at. But that's what they're looking at with their offseason is a lot of veterans minimums. That's all you had to use last year. Again, with that second apron thing, just the high-level takeaway is if you're in the second apron, you can't aggregate contracts. So you can't take player A and B. One makes $12 million, one makes $9 million, and say, we want to trade for a guy that makes $21 million. We'll package those two deals and ship them over. Can't do that if you're in the second apron. It has to be one deal that you're sending out to bring back that matching value. The amount you can bring back in a trade gets reduced as well. So that changes what you're bringing back in trades. Things like a mid-level exception where you could sign a guy for $7 million or so. You don't have that in your toolbox if you're in the second apron. So you're basically stuck with, we can do one-for-one trades where it's basically we're matching identical salaries, and we can sign guys to a veteran's minimum. So if that was where the Bucs were sitting at, it puts some pretty serious handcuffs on you. So avoiding that is going to be huge. They're not going to be able to avoid it the following year, where that's where it starts to get tricky. So you look at this offseason and say, to your point of changes, this is probably the last chance this group has to make any types of changes to the roster.
I feel like the championship window is still open, but we're running out of time.
It's hard to say it isn't when you have Giannis. And if the version we saw, and granted it was just 4 games, but the version of Damian Lillard we saw in the playoffs, as we learned, too, hobbled by an Achilles injury.
Absolutely.
With Giannis and that guy and Chris Middleton as your third, it is hard not to make a case.
It's a super team.
Yeah, we are a championship-level team. I think the big thing is how do we get some other guys ready throughout the course of the regular season? And it is, as much as Bucs fans may not want to hear it, and look, I'm certainly in that camp as well. Some of these games where you look at some of the lineups, not the most fun experience, but is that also a conversation we need to have? Giannis, I know you love to play, but we need you to play in April, May, and June. So maybe we need to take a look at that workload and games played and some of those minutes.
Justin Garcia, last thing for you. Is this the wackiest NBA season you've covered?
It's up there. I mean, I would say the year of the bubble and the year after the bubble. Even that 2016 year when the cap spike and Kevin Durant jumps to the Warriors and that whole offseason. But look, especially depending on what happens in these playoffs, I mean, what if we don't get the Boston Celtics reaching the NBA Finals?
Right.
What if you get the Oklahoma City Thunder in the finals and then this league becomes everything that the NHL and NFL have been for the last few years? A lot of fans would love that.
Parity. It's not always been the NBA's thing, but
never.
This could be the year, certainly. Do you jump on a team's bandwagon now that the Bucs are eliminated?
Anybody that plays the Indiana Pit, no. I mean, I know some people with the Timberwolves, and there's a lot that Bucs fans can relate to with those.
For sure.
So I'll probably lend my support there. Or the Denver Nuggets. It's hard not to root for Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray in that group, and Michael Malone. Yeah. So whoever wins that series that starts, I'll probably root for that. As much as we hate to admit it, the Knicks are pretty fun to watch and root for as well.
The Villanova Knicks, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I just won't be rooting for the Pacers or the Celtics.
I'm right there with you. Justin Garcia from the Bucs Radio Network. You're the best, buddy. Thanks for coming out.
You as well.
We will be right back with you on Mr. Relevant, live from the Potawatomi Sportsbook. They put the what do we call this? A step and repeat, the banner behind me at the Potawatomi Sportsbook because it is almost revenge time. The 2012 Milwaukee Brewers infield reunited in Chicago today. We'll dive into that next. It's Mr. Irrelevant with you right here on ESPN Milwaukee.
More Mr. Irrelevant coming up on 94.5 ESPN.
People across Wisconsin are enjoying the rewards, stability, and flexibility of a career in healthcare. Why not you? Wish Caregiver Careers can get you started as a certified direct care professional. You'll learn the skills you need to make life better for older adults or people with a disability. All training is free and online. Plus, earn $500 in bonuses. Start your new career. Sign up today at WisCaregiverCDCP.com. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Department of Health Services.
Eagle Sports Range has an unbeatable offer on concealed carry license classes. For just $49, enroll in their 3-hour class led by expert instructors prioritizing safety. Learn laws, techniques, and mindset for responsible carrying. Stick around for an optional hour of range time with instructors included in the package. Practice under professional guidance and gain confidence. Open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day at 2525 East Layton Avenue in Cudahy. Secure your spot at eaglesportsrange.com. Eagle Sports Range, where safety meets skill.
I'm Ben Jewick with Coakley Brothers and Brothers Interiors. The crew is winning ball games here in Milwaukee and around the country. Our team stands ready to help your organization win across North America. Powered by Coakley Connect, our revolutionary facilities management platform. The Coakley crew supports clients across the country manage their real estate portfolio, offering facility-focused products and services, interior design, construction, new furniture, installation, and move management. We'll help you create and manage interior environments that drive your teams forward. Visit CoakleyBrothers.com and hit a home run.
The club at Lac La Belle is the birthplace of golf in Wisconsin, with a rich history you will feel once you arrive. Experience a round at the club at Lac La Belle. The historic course is open to the public 7 days a week starting Sunday, May 5th. Schedule your tee time today at club@laclabelle.com. This is a golf destination that you will want to play over and over again. Enjoy fine dining and event space after your round. An historic past meets a vibrant future. Go to club@laclabelle.com to start your journey.
This is ESPN Wisconsin's Brad Nortman, here to tell you about my favorite go-to drink. That's Carbless. Carbless is a ready-to-drink, handcrafted vodka and tequila cocktail. Even better, it's 0 carbs, 0 sugar, 0 gluten, and just 100 calories. And listen to this, less carbonation. This leads to less bloat. I can indulge in something delicious without having that health guilt. Carbless is crafted right here in Wisconsin. It has a flavor for everyone, from black raspberry to cranberry, pineapple and lemon, and my favorite, margarita. Find Carbless online and at a retailer near you. Less is more.
Discover the difference at findhigherlove.com/CBD. Higher Love Cannabis Company is the only cultivator in the UP offering organic, clean green certified products. That means quality you can trust every time. With 7 locations across the UP, including Menominee, Norway, and Ironwood, finding your higher love is easier than ever before. And for our friends in Green Bay, Higher Love is less than an hour away. Kindness starts with you. Experience Higher Love today. Visit findhigherlove.com/CBD and follow them on social media at Find Higher Love.
Spring is here, and your Milwaukee and Chicago area IKEA stores are rolling the savings outdoors for the annual sidewalk sale. Visit IKEA Oak Creek, Bolingbrook, and Schaumburg from May 10th to the 27th for a wide variety of furniture and home furnishings at big discount. New products will be added throughout the sale, and don't miss IKEA's sidewalk sale Super Saturdays, May 11th, 18th, and 25th, where the first 200 IKEA family members receive a $25 gift card. Not an IKEA family member yet? Visit IKEA.com/US to sign up today.
You ever have one of those days when you just couldn't come up with the right answer? Well, I know one answer that pretty much solves all problems. Ice cream. Yeah, it's the answer to everything, right? And right now, at Quick Trip, our rich, creamy, straight from our dairy, Nature's Touch 1-gallon pails of ice cream are just $4.99. Yeah, now that's an answer worth digging into. Come on, be a problem solver. Bring home some fresh, delicious Nature's Touch ice cream, only from Quick Trip.
You're listening to Mr. Irrelevant with Alex Strofe on 94.5 ESPN and streaming live at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
But I'm thinking it's time for a change.
Mr. Relevant with you until 2 o'clock today, live from the Potawatomi Sportsbook. The grand opening. This place is legit. It's insane in here, man. Giant TVs behind me, a bunch of couches, seating for over 200, a full capacity of over 400. You've got the kiosks. You've got every game imaginable on, and one that is about to get underway, of course, is the Milwaukee Brewers and the Chicago Cubs. It is the Craig Counsell Revenge Series in the 2011 Brewers infield going head-to-head as Pat Murphy suspended for today's game. So Ricky Weeks will manage the Brewers, and, of course, Craig Counsell in his first season as the manager of the Chicago Cubs. Revenge is weird, man, right? Because we were just talking to Justin Garcia from the Bucks Radio Network, and he mentioned when Kevin Durant went to the Warriors. I have always been partial to the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's an NBA team I've always really liked. And when when Durant made the decision of, hey, can't beat him, join him after blowing a 3-1 lead in the playoffs, I just thought it was the slimiest, grimiest, crappiest move imaginable in the NBA, right? You go to a 73-win team that you lost to in the postseason. Like, it's just gross to me. And what's gross to me as well, for different reasons, is Craig Counsell abandoning ship this offseason and jumping to the Milwaukee Brewers' biggest rival down south with the Chicago Cubs. Today, the first of many matchups between Craig Counsell and the Cubs and the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, it is in Chicago, so the Boo Birds are not playing in effect today at American Family Field. But he's certainly going to hear it at some point, is Craig Counsell. Now, look, we're in the period of the baseball season where, admittedly, I tune out a little bit, right? I'll get back into it after the NBA Finals and the NHL Stanley Cup, after all the postseasons are done. Then you jump back in. Baseball's a summer sport. But there is nothing that I am looking forward to betting on more today than the Milwaukee Brewers and the Chicago Cubs. Because you have to imagine there's probably not as much hatred and fuel in the clubhouse for the Milwaukee Brewers as there is for us, the fans. But there's still got to be dude, come on. You couldn't go to, like, Minnesota or Seattle or New York or Miami or Atlanta, wherever, right? You had to go to the Chicago Cubs. If you went to the Chicago White Sox, I think it makes more sense. He ends up in the Cubs. So it's just not only a swift kick to the junk, it's then a follow-up underhand? Uppercut, that's the word I'm looking for, to the junk, is what Craig Counsell did as he took the job with the Chicago Cubs. So I hope the Brewers win by, I don't know, what do you think, Ashy? 27 runs today?
I was looking at more 28 or 29, but 27 seems like a safe number.
Yeah, I just can't stand this move. It's just gross to me. As he's, Milwaukee area guy. And he comes up, he plays for the team, then he manages the team. His son is winning state championships for Whitefish Bay, the suburb of Milwaukee. And all of a sudden he's, all right, I'm good. My boy won a state title. I never won a super meaningful playoff series for the Brewers, so I'm out of here. Never won an NLCS, never made it quite to the World Series. But I'll tell you what, man. Pat Murphy, the fire he brings, I love that he's suspended for this one. The first Craig Counsell game we get is against his old infield teammate, Ricky Weeks. It's just a hilarious optic to me of these two guys going head-to-head as managers between the Brewers and the Cubs. Pat Murphy, by the way, will return tomorrow for the weekend series, so it will be Murphy v. Counsell tomorrow. But 19-11 leading the division, the Milwaukee Brewers in a really good spot right now. They won their final two games against the Tampa Bay Rays. That's another series win after losing that series last weekend to the New York Yankees. This is a team that seemingly has the offense cooking a little bit. 8 runs and 7 runs in their last 2 games scored, only allowing a total of 3 between the 2 games as well against the Rays. But you've got a big one against Chicago. I mean, this will dictate the early season leader in the NL Central if it goes south or if it goes really good one way or another. The Cubs just a game back, 19-13 on the year of the Brewers, and have a 2.5-game lead over the Reds in third place. The Brewers win a couple of these. Their lead is all of a sudden 4 or 5 if they can make that happen this weekend at Wrigley Field. Revenge tour for the Milwaukee Brewers. Coming up on the other side, Greg Matzik joins me for the entire 1 o'clock hour. We'll talk Pat Beverly shenanigans that occurred last night in Indiana. We will be joined by some of our friends from the Potawatomi Sportsbook to talk about this terrific space and everything going on here at Potawatomi. And we will, of course, play the blame game. Who deserves the most blame for the Milwaukee Bucks' second year in a row, first round exit in the NBA playoffs? We'll do that all ahead with you for another hour. It's Mr. Irrelevant. I'm Alex Strofe with you from the all-new Potawatomi Sportsbook.
More Mr. Irrelevant coming up on 94.5 ESPN.
Hey, this is Brad Nortman from KBN. Tune into Kyle Breston Nortman from 2 to 5 every day. WKTI and WKTI HD Milwaukee.
A locally owned Good Karma brand station.
Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It is the most fun and exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. Pretty simple. You just pick more or less on 2 or more players' stats for a shot to win up to 100x on your cash. And testing my skills on Prize Picks this playoff basketball season, it's the most simple way to get in on the action. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and submit your lineup. Made my first $10 deposit and received an instant $10 bonus. If you have the skills, you can play for a shot at turning your $10 into $1,000. This playoff season, the star players mean more on Prize Picks. Keep an eye out for starred players on the board, and you could receive a 10% payout boost if they're in your winning lineup. Download the app today and use that code WI for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code WI on Prize Picks for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Hey guys, it's Brad Nortman here to tell you about a great offer at Bank 5-9. I know we're all looking for ways to save our money, and at Bank 5-9, you can earn more by opening a money market account today. With rates as high as 5.3%, you'll earn more while working with a true local community bank. Be sure to check out their great CDs too. Helping you save more of your money is another way Bank 5-9 is making lives better. For details, visit bank59.com/MM specials. Member FDIC.
Looking for a totally rad flavor adventure, brochachos? Look no further than Surfer Boy Pizza as seen in Stranger Things. Each mouth-watering variety contains rich tomato sauce, delicious mozzarella cheese, and a gnarly range of toppings. The crust is crispy on the outside and airy on the inside. You'll think it was hand-tossed by the Surfer Boy Pizza dudes themselves. Look for it in the freezer aisle at your local store and buckle up your taste buds with Surfer Boy Pizza.
The hottest topics of the day.
Dodgers Diamondbacks was delayed yesterday due to an infestation of bees. The beekeeper locally in Arizona comes out with whatever his little suck machine is, and he's getting all these bees off.
Done the only way Strophe knows how.
Have you heard of a vacuum, Strofe? The suck machine. The suck machine.
I didn't want to call it a vacuum because I wasn't sure that was the correct phrasing for this.
This is Mr. Irrelevant with Alex Strofe on 94.5 ESPN and streaming live at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube. Broadcasting live from the brand new Potawatomi Sportsbook inside Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Here's Alex Strofe.
Hour 2, Mr. Relevant with you from the grand opening of the Potawatomi Sportsbook. This is awesome. And joining me now, also an awesome guy. You hear him. Wisconsin's Midday News on 620 WTMJ. Greg Matzik with me now at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. GM, baby. This place rocks.
It's kind of making me think that my basement remodeling plans need to be reworked a little bit, right? And maybe I'm not thinking this thing through properly.
Can we get you a kiosk in your basement, you think?
That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. I'm sure there will be a video board of some level, but I can't believe how high definition everything is and how all the monitors sort of sync up. Is the game on? Yes, the game is on, whatever you're looking to see. I think you anticipate that with any kind of sports book. I've been to Vegas. I've been to many Vegas' sports book, and some outdo the others. This would fit right in as among the best. And it's state-of-the-art. Things smell new, right? It's that perfect sweet spot of a grand opening and everything working. I love it.
Immediately when I'm done with the show, I'm going downstairs and claiming one of those recliners. I got to test them out. They look absolutely cushy and lovely.
That's not a bad call, right?
You want to join me?
Got a spot for your drink.
Yeah. Cup holders in it.
They might not ever get you out of here.
It might not. Greg, I was just talking about the revenge series that's happening this weekend at Wrigley Field. Chicago Cubs, Craig Counsell gets to face his former teammate today, Ricky Weeks, managing the Brewers as Pat Murphy wraps up his suspension. It's go time. There's a lot of fire behind this series between the Cubs and the Brewers. First time the Brewers get to play against Craig Counsell.
It is a breezy day at Wrigley Field for whatever that's worth. I think that could mean some who knows, like balls flying out of the yard onto Waveland Avenue. I'd like to see that. But also, in some of the pregame here that I've been seeing is what you would expect. It's players walking over to give Craig Counsell a hug. Like, there's that element of it, too. So, in between the lines, yes, the Brewers want to beat the Cubs anytime they play them. Ricky Weeks, the manager of the Brewers today, was a teammate of Craig Counsell, so this is kind of a cool moment for them to share on the field. But I don't think anywhere outside of the lines does it spill over into this back and forth us against you sort of world that fans live in, which I get. It's where you're supposed to live. And now Craig Counsell, the hometown kid, is part of the enemy, and that somehow burns and stings that he would make that move, the best move he could make for his family. But I think if you're playing the game today, Brewers want to beat the Cubs. That's it. I don't think they want to beat Craig Counsell specifically. In fact, I think they have fond memories of Craig Counsell, and they should have. So it's a fan thing. It's a media thing. I get it. I like being a part of that side of it. I always want the Brewers to beat the Cubs. The Cubs are one of those teams I always want to see lose, no matter who they play, unless it's the Cardinals.
But does it change it a little bit for you? Like, I want to beat the Cubs even more now.
So, and no, and I guess part of that is because I like Craig, and I know Craig, and I'm happy for Craig. Like, that's a weird part of this, is that I can separate fandom and what I want to see the Brewers do this season. And believe me, I want them to beat the doors off the Cubs, regardless of who's managing. But the personal connection and my relationship with Craig, I'm happy for him. If he was able to make a move for his family that he thought was better, I'm happy for him. I'm bummed it's not in Milwaukee. But if that's a good move for Craig, all good, man. I hope it works out for you.
I'm proud of you because you are a much nicer person than me. And I don't know that that's a very high bar, Greg, but I want to kick the crap out. I just compared, before you walked in, Craig Counsell, the baseball manager equivalent of Kevin Durant going to the Warriors in 2016.
Yeah, there should be some sting in buzz with fans. I get it. But how many times have you met Craig? How many times have you hung out with Craig?
Zero.
How many times have you had a dinner with Craig?
Are you bragging right now?
I know, just a bit over the course of time, right? Like 24 years covering Wisconsin sports, like when he was a player and then a player again, and then he kind of moved into this strange sort of scouting role and then became manager like every step of the way. And it's like, hey, Craig, you know, we're doing events together. Like, I genuinely like Craig Counsell as a person. I am sad he is no longer the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers. I wish it weren't the Cubs that he went to. But if he made a move that's great for his family and himself, all good. I support that. But I always want the Brewers to beat the Cubs. So Craig Counsell being the manager doesn't take it to another level for me.
I'm curious if anybody else feels that way. 800-990-3776. Your way into Mr. Relevant. Alex Strofe, Greg Matzek with you from the Potawatomi Sportsbook, the all-new, brand-new grand opening of the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Ben chimes in on the text line, says, Greg, stop that. That's logical. Fans don't want logic. Fans want to be pissed off.
Yes, and
yeah,
it's
Greg,
okay.
stop it.
You can be, but again, it's Brewers and Cubs.
That just has enough juice already.
It's not Brewers against Craig. I don't feel it that way. Now, I did back in the day. Okay, now I did feel that way when it was Packers against Favre. That felt a little different to me. That's in a different category to me. But again, I wasn't covering the teams like I was covering them when Craig was manager and a player. So I didn't have a personal connection to Brett Favre, right? He's one of the scums of this earth. I did not have a personal connection to him. So I can say that definitively. Brett Favre is among the scum of the earth walking this planet. I don't feel that way about Craig Counsell. So Brewers and Cubs has plenty of juice for me.
That's fair. I would not call Craig Counsell the scum of the earth. I just thought what he did was grimy. That's all. I'm just gonna look at
grimy,
it
scrummy.
Yeah.
Either way.
I mean, just a different word. Just looked up thesaurus.com.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Yes, please.
Rattle off your top 5 teams. Top 5 teams you always want to see lose. Always. Regardless of sport, regardless who they're playing, top 5 teams you always want to see lose.
Ashton, give me some NFL music for this because I need to think about this. And I think a lot of them will be in the NFL. Should we go 5-1 or 1-5?
I'll let you do it. It doesn't have to be in any particular order, but if you can name for me 5 teams you always want to see lose.
Number 1 on that list is the Chicago Bears.
Okay.
Number 2 on that list is the Minnesota Vikings.
Great.
All NFL teams. Still another NFL team at number 3. It's the Dallas Cowboys.
Good.
Those are the 3 teams I love watching lose every Sunday. And guess what? It's happened a lot for those 3 teams recently. So I'm as happy as can be. Number 4, Craig Counsell. Excuse me, the Chicago Cubs.
Okay.
Are number 4 on that list. Number 5, Boston Celtics.
That's an interesting one.
Can't stand them. Can't stand them.
So
and I share a birthday with Larry Bird, so I really should like the Celtics. But
you have a lot of similar qualities. I've noticed that over the years.
My jump shot? Yeah. That's
wet. The reason I ask the question is, if any manager or any coach went from a team, Team A, to Team B, one of the teams that you despise and always want to see lose, does it kick it up another notch? Like, you've already put these 5 teams in a stratosphere separate from all the other teams that play sports in college or at the professional level.
Yep.
So does it really take it to another level?
Yeah, I imagine if you asked me that question 1 year ago, the Cubs aren't 4th.
Okay.
They might be 5th. They might still be on that list.
So the Cubs were always on that list for me.
Are they number 1?
They are in the mix because it changes.
Are you going to give your list? I would like you to give your list.
Okay, now it changes by season because when the NFL season starts, man, I want the teams that are my NFL teams to always be losing, and maybe the Cubs aren't as relevant in my mind at that point. But the Cubs are definitely in my top 5, as are the St. Louis Cardinals. When the 2 teams play each other, I don't really know what to do. Number 3 on my list, the Alabama Crimson Tide football team.
Oh, okay.
That's number 3.
Even without Saban?
Even without Saban.
Wow.
I like the underdog. Number 4 on the list, the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I thought about naming them as well.
And that had more to do with Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. I'm not a big Russell Wilson fan. Definitely not a Pete Carroll fan. All the heartache that the Seahawks have caused the Packers over the years.
Bring up 2014. Greg,
That's number 4 on the list.
Rather.
Number 5 are the Minnesota Vikings. I don't include the Bears in that list because they are so bad historically as a franchise that I just don't see any value in putting them in the list because they're going to lose anyway.
There you go. Alex Strofe and Greg Matzik's list of the teams we hate the most here on Mr. Relevant live from Potawatomi Sportsbook. There you go. There's a little anger. There was a little hate there.
Well, yeah, so I have it in me, Strophe.
Yeah,
I have
clearly.
it in me. But Craig Counsell with the Cubs does not take the Cubs into a different level. They're already in this
there.
different stratosphere of teams that I always want to see lose.
Now, you mentioned the Bears, and I just want to ask you this before we get the break quick. Does the Caleb Williams, Roma Dunze, Keenan Allen, Gerald Everett additions to the Bears, does that worry you at all as a Packers fan?
Strophe.
They still got to prove it.
Some teams are just historically awful at developing quarterbacks.
Yeah, and they are one of them.
If you are drafted by the Chicago Bears, the Cleveland Browns, or the New York Jets, you might as well just sign off the first 3 years of your career and hope you latch on somewhere with a program and an offensive coordinator and a system that properly develops you, because the Bears, Browns, and Jets are awful at it.
Yeah, they are.
And Caleb Williams, to me, is a front runner. Anytime it got thick or he was up against the odds, he kind of crumbled to me. So, no, he is not the answer.
Jordan Love will be the best quarterback in the NFC North for how long?
He already is, and he will be. Hard to say without knowing who's coming where, but I don't think we're worried about the Vikings right now.
Nope.
Jared Goff is Jared Goff, and I'm not worried about a rookie quarterback in Chicago. So for as long as his contract is in Green Bay and he's playing along with that contract in Green Bay, he's the clubhouse leader for the next several years.
Today is the day that Jordan Love could potentially sign a contract extension. It was 1 year ago today that extension was signed, May 3rd of 2023, which means the timeline is up. So I would keep an eye out for Jordan Love news either today, maybe this weekend, maybe into next week, and it could drag out even longer than that. But he is going to be paid very handsomely, and rightfully so. The 10-game run he went on at the end of last season certainly deserves franchise quarterback money, so we will see when that news comes across. I do want to talk a little bit more Bucks here in the 1 o'clock hour as the Bucks fall yesterday in Game 6 to the Indiana Pacers, another first-round exit for the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll dive into that next. Pat Beverly, man. Woof. We'll dive into that coming up as well. Greg Matzek, Alex Strofe with you from the grand opening of the Potawatomi Sportsbook right here on ESPN Milwaukee.
More Mr. Irrelevant coming up on 94.5 ESPN.
Need assistance with door and window projects? The Home Depot can help. From inspiration and materials to ordering and installation, our free Millwork virtual apron service can get you moving and doing. Plus, we speak Spanish too. Our associates can help you tackle complex jobs without you leaving the job site, saving you time and money. Call us at 1-833-HD-APRON or visit homedepot.com/MVA. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, U.S. Tax Shield can help you take back control. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Our team of tax attorneys can stop collections and get you protected. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the BBB, so call 800-494-6139. U.S. Tax Shield, 800-494-6139.
Jeff Levering and wife Ashley love their patio door from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
It's so bright, it's so clear. I can see the kids outside playing, and it makes it comfortable for the life we live, which is an active one.
I love the roll screen. The fact that the screen is on the inside.
For the first time, our whole house actually feels like the same climate.
And no drafts. It's a game changer.
Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. And if you order today, you get 0% interest for up to 60 months. When it comes to replacing or upgrading your windows and doors, you want to be confident about your decisions. With Pella Design Works, you can see what your home could look like before you buy. Black frame windows or white, vinyl, wood, or fiberglass. Bring your vision to life and rest assured it's the perfect style for your home. Right now, get 0% interest-free financing for up to 60 months when you order by May 10th. Set your free in-home consultation at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. Ends 5/10/2024.
An unsuspecting driver at a Milwaukee barbershop.
I got an apprentice here shadowing me. I'm gonna put this hot towel on, man. About a good 3 minutes, all right?
The apprentice is Donald Driver.
So when you come here, you drive?
Yes.
Your car got seatbelts?
Yeah.
You wear them?
No.
Okay, but why not?
I don't want to.
But do you know you can get a ticket for that? I'm gonna give you a ticket. Bet you wish you buckle up now.
Oh my God. Donald Driver can't always be there to remind you.
Take it, click it. There we go. Click it or ticket.
And let's reduce fatalities on Wisconsin roadways. Sponsored by Wisconsin DOT.
Get the best of both worlds when you visit X Golf at American Family Field. Hi, it's Gabe Neitzel from Jen, Gabe, and Chewy and On the Tee. I love golf. I love baseball. And if you're like me, Brewers game days are the best when they're at X Golf. Book a simulator, bring a group, enjoy the great food and beverage options, and get a unique view of the game. Right now, you can head to brewers.com/tickets and get both sim time and game tickets. Plus, hit a hole-in-one at X Golf and Fan Field any day of the year, and you and a buddy can take a trip down Bernie's Slide. X Golf and fanfield.com.
They say seeing is believing, and when you see what's inside at American Place Casino, you better believe you're gonna love it. Because when it comes to amazing gaming, we're a real game changer. With the most exciting of table games like blackjack, craps, and roulette, the newest slots, a sportsbook, restaurants, bars, and more. So if you're ready for excitement, we'll see you soon. American Place Casino. Change the game.
Must be 21 years of age or older. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537.
Life's better with American Family Insurance because our home policies help protect your dreams and come with peace of mind. Save up to 25% by bundling home, auto, and life. American Family Insurance. Get a quote, find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. Discounts may not apply to all coverages on an auto or home policy. Discounts do not apply to life insurance policies. Visit amfam.com to learn how discounts may apply to you. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating companies, American Family Life Insurance Company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
It's a new era of sports betting, Milwaukee. The state-of-the-art Potawatomi Sportsbook is open. Located at Potawatomi Casino Hotel, Potawatomi Sportsbook features dozens of self-service kiosks, food, drinks, and a 2,000-foot video wall. Bet big, bet bold. Potawatomi Sportsbook.
I fell for the devil's daughter. I jumped in, yeah, I drank the water. Tell me, doctor, can you fix my brain? 'Cause everyone that says I'm insane, help me loosen this falling chain. There's no use talking, I'm a dead man walking. I was thirsty and I wanted more. Then she burned me with the rebel soul.
Special edition of Mr. Irrelevant Live from the all-new Potawatomi Sportsbook. People really starting to file in. I took a peek out there as the Brewers game just about to get underway, and people are filling in on those recliners. Greg Matzik, Alex Strofe with you from the Potawatomi Sportsbook. What are you struggling with over there?
Well, I'm getting a wet nap open because they've got chicken wings out here in the buffet area that are the size of my Nissan. Like, these are enormous. So I tried to. I got them onto a plate. I successfully accomplished that mission of getting 3 chicken wings, which were all huge. onto my plate, and got a little buffalo sauce on my hand, and I didn't want to touch anything. It's all new in here.
It is.
So I grabbed a wet nap, and the wet nap is like the size
Also
of the American
size of your
flag.
Nissan, yeah.
It's enormous. So I got it open, and we're getting clean in here.
Your fascination by things is fascinating to me. I've noticed things about you. You just get fascinated by things.
I do. It's the little things, really.
Yeah.
Little things are big things for me.
And I love that. We need more of that energy around here. It's been a special edition of Mr. Relevant with you until 2 o'clock, leading into Kyle Brust and Nortman, who are also going to be live here at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We're live all day, 7 to 7, here on 94.5 ESPN. All right, Greg, we buried the lead when you joined me last segment. The Bucs season is over in the first round for the second year in a row, thanks to a slew of injuries and probably some other things. This season was one of the wackier, for an individual NBA team, one of the wackier seasons I ever remember. Between the coaching changes, yet being in second place, Doc Rivers ends up taking over a week or two before the All-Star break, and then coaches in the All-Star game due to the standings rule. As the Celtics were in first place, they were in first place last year at the All-Star break. Can't coach in the All-Star game 2 years in a row, so he gets thrown into that spot. You add Damian Lillard to the mix. And ultimately, it flames out in 6. Bucks in 6 has a new meaning this year. And it means they are out in 6 games of the postseason. Not good, Greg.
No, and my immediate thought is, how different is the soup going to taste next year?
Yeah.
Right? So when the season is done, we can look back as to why, and we can, I think, say, you have Giannis on the floor, maybe the series looks a little different. I think that's reasonable to assume that it looks different if you have Giannis on the floor. I don't know if the Bucks win it. My gut says they do, but it looks different when you have one of the best players in the NBA. He is a greater difference maker in this series than Damian Lillard. You ended up with Pat Connaughton guarding Pascal Siakam, for goodness sake, at times. So Giannis, no doubt, the difference maker and the guy the Bucks missed the most, I think, in this series with respect to Lillard and what he was able to do. That's all frustrating. Everything Patrick Beverley did as the game was winding down and in the postgame, to me, is embarrassing. But then you start to look at, okay, the ingredients of this soup, right? Okay, it's a broth, right? It's a minestrone. It's a thinner soup with a lot of different, vegetables and meat in it. My biggest wonder is, are you just going to swap out some ingredients in that soup? Trade Malik Beasley for something different. Maybe we don't need Jay Crowder. Maybe it's something else to flavor this soup. Or are you going from broth base to creamy base? Now you're talking about a more radical change. And to me, the more radical change that I hope to see with this roster is just a little more infusion of productive youth. Because to me, the Bucks looked slow at times.
Old.
They looked like a team that had thrived in transition for years under Bud. There were so many times, Alex, where Mike Budenholzer would not call a timeout in a game-defining situation because he knew his team was better on the move. He did not want to set up in the half court. The Bucks' only chance against Indiana was to set up in the half court and slow things down. So you're talking about a dramatic shift in identity, and a lot of the players who are on the older side are still under contract and could be back next year. So I'm curious to know what happens with this roster because I do think more productive youth has to be a part of it.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Oldest team in the league, and they looked at times. They just did not have the legs beneath them to keep up with a team like the Indiana Pacers, who had youth, who had a deep bench, and who had a ton of production from the role players. And obviously, when you are missing your top 2 leading scorers, your role production will go down because they're triggered into the starting lineup. But it never felt like the Bucs series. Even after a terrific atmosphere and a terrific win on Tuesday night at Fiserv Forum, it just never felt like it was their series.
It never felt like it was their season.
No, that's true, too.
Right? I mean, just think about pre-Adrian Griffin firing.
It's a great point.
The record looks pretty good, but, I don't know. It just doesn't seem right.
Feel like a very good team, right?
They got hot for a minute under Doc, and I do understand. They only had a small handful of games with a healthy big three.
Mm-hmm.
And that's legit. But therein lies and underscores my initial point. Are you going to rely on a mid-30-something Damian Lillard and Chris Middleton to be healthy? You got a guy in Giannis who is still in his mid to upper 20s, but how many years has he been in the league? How much pounding does he take? He's an older version of a 27-year-old, I think, in my opinion. So it's something you have to be mindful of. Very effective players when healthy, but health is a legit storyline with this team.
2 years in a row. Giannis has played in only 3 of the last 11 Milwaukee Bucks playoff games, and one of those he left 10 minutes into the game. So that is a terrifying stat for a guy you need to heavily rely on. If he's not on the floor, not only are you not winning the NBA title, not only are you not making it to the NBA Finals, you're lucky to win a playoff series. And we've seen that the last 2 years.
So you sticking with minestrone, or are you going to go to more a cream-based soup?
I'm sticking with minestrone, but it feels like the minestrone is losing its flavor. I don't know how many years in a row I can have the minestrone.
Yeah.
But I'll have it again next year. It's just got to taste a little bit different than it did this year.
I'm very curious to see what happens with the roster, and I'm also curious to see what happens within the front office, if there's any changes. Not that John Horst would ever or should ever be fired, in my opinion, but now that you do have new ownership in place, you've got back-to-back years of a first-round exit, how long does John Horst stay in Milwaukee? Is he at odds with new ownership?
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Haslam's time in Cleveland, I would say, was a little rocky. Now he's in Milwaukee. I don't know the answer to that question, but it's not unreasonable to think that changes could be made at that level.
It's a question worth posing, though, without a doubt. And I think when you use the soup analogy, which you just did, would you view not ownership, but the general manager, right, the front office, is a change there? Are you switching bases, or is that just some ingredients? How do you view that within your analogy?
In my opinion, if John Horst leaves Milwaukee, it's because he wants to leave Milwaukee.
I tend to agree.
I'm not saying he's going to. Believe me, don't take this the wrong way. I don't think there is any sort of push to move John Horst.
By no means, but the rumors are out there.
He has had one goal in mind, and that was to do everything possible to retain Giannis. By retaining Giannis, you keep your window for a championship open. So every move the Bucks have made over the last couple of years has been run through one filter. Will this move help us keep Giannis? And if the answer to that question was no, then it wasn't done. If the answer to that question was yes, then the move was made. So I still think that filter is important to consider. But now you have Giannis locked up for a few more years, right? I'm curious to see what happens at that level when it comes to tooling of the roster, how much involvement ownership has, and if John Horst wants to be a part of that.
Well said. Greg Matzek, Alex Strofe with you here on a special edition of Mr. Relevant, live from the all-new, brand-new, grand opening of the Potawatomi Sportsbook. It is just awesome in here. Greg, I've been meaning to ask you the question everybody needs to know. Do you subscribe to Pat Beverly's podcast?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not.
And neither do some people in the media. He's asked that question quite a few times. Apparently not every time. Justin Garcia cleared up for me this season, but new faces he will ask that too. And Melinda Adams, a longtime ESPN producer. I opened a bottle of water for her this past summer at Big Ten Media Days in Indianapolis. Wonderful lady. She fed into my ego. She goes, hey, you're stronger than me, and nobody ever describes me as strong, Greg. And she said, can you open this bottle of water for me? And I said, absolutely. That's the extent of my relationship with Melinda Adams, but I just figured I'd throw that out there.
Country strong. I'd say you're country strong.
I don't know if I would say that either, but I appreciate the compliment nonetheless. But Melinda Adams was essentially asked by Pat Beverly last night. We have the audio. Let's just play it. Pat Beverly, part 1, at his locker in exchange with ESPN producer Melinda Adams.
You subscribe to my pod?
Do I subscribe to you? I do not.
So you can't interview me then.
Okay,
No disrespect.
Well, Jamal is here.
You subscribe? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So he then looks to a different reporter, Melinda Adams, as a professional would, keeps her microphone in front of the face of Pat Beverly, and then this happens in exchange between Pat Beverly and Melinda Adams.
You move that mic, please, or just get out the circle, please, for me, please, ma'am. If you're not subscribed to my pod, I appreciate that. Thank you.
And this was shortly after an exchange by the bench, and I don't know what happens. What fully happened. You heard both sides. Pat Beverly tweeting out that the bench was asking for help all game, and of course, when your season ends, tensions naturally will boil over. But he threw a basketball into the crowd several times, Greg, and then he does this to a longtime ESPN producer at the end of a season when Pat Beverly, of course, a very good quote for us that work in the media. He's fun to listen to. He's an entertaining fella, but it's just. It hits me as really strange for a 35-year-old man.
Or any person, right? So I try and think of it. There are two separate incidents, right? So you've got the throwing the ball at a fan in the stands twice. There was that weird scene at the end of the game where clearly a guy in a Pacers jersey was agitated. He looked to be in pretty good shape. and Giannis reaches his hand over, and they shake hands before the guy leaves. I thought that was very strange, and I thought, what in the world did I miss? Like, who's heckling who? Like, my first thought is this was a group of, rowdy Pacer fans giving it to the Bucks bench all night. Something was said that may have crossed the line. Giannis is trying to defuse the situation.
Yeah.
And I do think Giannis was probably trying to defuse the situation. In doing so, to me, he was saying, hey, don't mind Pat Bev. You got a little hot there, all good, and those people go on their way. But Pat Bev didn't do it once, right? You lose it cool once, and, okay, shame on you. You do it again intentionally, and it's like, bro, what are you doing?
Right.
What is the matter with you? It's like a petulant child, and it takes me back to the time he jacked Chris Paul from behind and knocked him on the ground. This is the kind of BS garbage that has made Pat Beverly public enemy number one for the majority of fan bases, and he comes into that category of players that, well, you don't want to play against him, but if he's on your team, you tend to love him,
right.
And we saw signs of that too. But now as a Bucks fan, you're embarrassed for this jackass move.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And the second one, telling a reporter, a producer, to leave the scrum because she's not subscribed to his podcast is even worse. Because that is out of the heat of the moment. That is after the cool-off period, right? You just see somebody you don't recognize. Last time I was in a locker room and I had a credential, that was the only prerequisite I needed, a credential. And then I can be a part of whatever I want to be. So if you don't want me there because I don't subscribe to your podcast, tough. That is not the prerequisite. I'm staying. I'm holding my ground.
Yeah, I'm with you. I wonder what would happen if that happened to you. He never asked you that?
Pat Bev has never asked me if I subscribe to his podcast. And I try and think, like, what would I do in that situation?
What would you do?
If that were me, I think I would calmly say back, subscribing to your podcast is not a prerequisite for me to hold a microphone and collect audio.
Which is correct. Which is
that would
correct
likely
response.
open the door for him to say something. And then he might even say, well, I'm done then. And then all the other members of the media could look at me and be all pissed off, but I'd look at them and say, why don't you have my back?
Facts. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Nobody had her back in that scrum.
No,
including local media who were there.
Correct. No, you're right, and that was the unfortunate part. And he tweeted some stuff out, and I don't think it was in relation to that. It was more so the throwing of the ball that he has to and will be better. But you said,
and he did apologize to the reporter.
He did.
He did call the reporter, the producer, and apologized. The Bucks have also called and apologized on behalf of the team, which I think is a little bit damage control, but also better than nothing. I would put it into that category. I'm glad that happened. I think Pat probably recognizes that even though his tone was polite, what he did was wrong and baseless.
Yeah, you're totally right. And it's one of those guys, and you mentioned, right, you see shades of, hey, I love that he's on my team. You saw it in Game 5, right? His little scrum with Obi Toppin in front of the Bucks bench at Fiserv Forum on Tuesday. He pokes him, and then he gets Obi Toppin to receive a technical, and the Bucks get points because of it. And it's like, you pestered him. You were a little pesky, but it worked for us.
Professional agitator.
Well said. I like that. I think that should be like my Twitter bio.
He's good at it. He's effective in the series. Like, they got out of Pat Bev what they needed to get out of Pat Bev on the floor. I enjoyed watching him as a Buck. I don't know if it'll continue or not, but the shenanigans at the end of the game and in the locker room are just totally uncalled for.
Yeah, and it's just add that to the list of weird happenings this season for the Milwaukee Bucks between the coaching changes, adding Damian Lillard, Bobby Portis' ejection earlier in the series. So many weird moments in this Bucks season. What was your favorite weird moment of the Bucks season?
I like to focus on the positive. I like it when Giannis scores 60+.
Yeah, that's good.
And you can ride those emotions and still realize that he's among the most dominant players in all of basketball. Starting to get a little older. Maybe he's not the guy you start a franchise with anymore. He was for a number of years, but still a dominant MVP caliber type player. He had that kind of season. It was a rocky season, though. I wish that the health of the team were better at the right time of the season. I wish we could have seen it all on display. I think it would have been a different outcome in the series if Giannis were fully healthy.
I think you're totally right. So I'm going to take that translation. Your favorite moment of the season was when Giannis sprinted to the Pacers locker room to try to get his ball back.
That was the game.
Yeah.
That was the game.
Yeah, that was weird too.
It was.
Add that to the
that
list.
was bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, there
was
so many things in this Bucks season that were out there. I do want to talk a little Packers coming up next. I haven't done that a ton today. And Greg Matzek's here. We got to talk about the NFC North, the new look NFC North. We will do that coming up next. He's Greg Matzek. I'm Alex Strofe with you from the grand opening of the all-new Potawatomi Sportsbook. This is a show we call Mr. Irrelevant, and it is back after this on ESPN Milwaukee.
Mr. Irrelevant is back after this on 94.5 ESPN.
It started with a prediction.
We'll go out there and play basketball and win.
And how many games?
6.
It became the culture.
Chance of Bucks in 6.
Being a Bucks fan means you live and breathe Bucks in 6. Brandon Jennings created the prophecy. Tune into Behind the Bucks, the story of Brandon Jennings on the Bucks Plus audio network. Behind the Bucks is presented by Gallagher, your trusted insurance broker and HR and benefits consultant. Available now on bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, and streaming wherever you get your podcasts.
That's for the culture.
Lower prices. Those aren't words you hear too often these days. But at your local Milwaukee and Chicago area IKEA stores, they've rolled out new lower prices on hundreds of your favorite furniture and home furnishing options throughout the store, making it more affordable to give any room in your home a stylish makeover. Utilizing innovations in design, production, and packaging, we strive to cut costs and lower prices without compromising quality, passing those savings on to you. Visit your local IKEA stores to see what savings are coming next.
Stay up to date on the Green and Gold all off season. The Green and Gold Fix podcast is brought to you by Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Luxury stay, elite play, unwind in sophisticated comfort. Win big, dine, and experience the events in Milwaukee.
Woo! Hey, this is Ben Brust from Kyle Brust and Ortman on ESPN Wisconsin. People can't stop screaming about the Screamin' Sicilian frozen pizza, and no wonder. There's plenty to scream about, like the buttery stone-fired crust, secret recipe tomato sauce, mounds of whole milk mozzarella, and tons of premium toppings. Find Screamin' Sicilian in your local grocer's freezer and find out for yourself why Sport called Screamin' Sicilian's holy pepperoni frozen pizza the best of the best. Screamin' Sicilian, taste what all the screamin' is about.
Hi, it's John Reitz from Great Midwest Bank, and as a community bank, we sincerely appreciate our customer loyalty. Over nearly 90 years, we've done all we can to return the favor. Great Midwest Bank offers flexible solutions that bigger banks and credit unions simply can't, because our entire team is right here in the community. We love helping our neighbors when we're at work and then catching up over the weekend. Visit us at greatmidwestbank.com. Great Midwest Bank, your simply local equal housing lender.
This is ESPN Wisconsin's Brad Nortman, here to tell you about my favorite go-to drink. That's Carbless. Carbless is a ready-to-drink, handcrafted vodka and tequila cocktail. Even better, it's 0 carbs, 0 sugar, 0 gluten, and just 100 calories. And listen to this, less carbonation. This leads to less bloat. I can indulge in something delicious without having that health guilt. Carbless is crafted right here in Wisconsin. It has a flavor for everyone, from black raspberry to cranberry, pineapple and lemon, and my favorite, margarita. Find Carbless online and at a retailer near you. Less is more.
I'm Ben Jewick with Coakley Brothers and Brothers Interiors. The crew is winning ball games here in Milwaukee and around the country. Our team stands ready to help your organization win across North America. Powered by Coakley Connect, our revolutionary facilities management platform, the Coakley crew supports clients across the country manage their real estate portfolio, offering facility-focused products and services, interior design, construction, new furniture, installation, and move management. We'll help you create and manage interior environments that drive your teams forward. Visit CoakleyBrothers.com and hit a home run.
Hi, I'm attorney David Gruber. After an accident, you need a trusted winning team on your side. For more than 30 years, Gruber Law Offices has helped Wisconsin families get the results they deserve. If you've been injured, call our firm today for a free consultation. We're available 24/7. Wisconsin's own Gruber Law Offices, proud partner of your Milwaukee Brewers. One call, that's all.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis. To learn more, go to covenanthouse.org today.
This is Mr. Irrelevant with Alex Strofe on 94.5 ESPN and streaming live at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Don't you love it? Don't you love it? No, I ain't happy yet.
Back to work, Mr. Relevant with you from the all-new Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Alex Strove, joined this hour by Greg Matzik, who you hear on 620 WTMJ, Wisconsin's Midday News. Greg?
Nice place you got here, by the way.
Dude, you just mowed those wings down in the commercial break.
The wings were good. So during the football season, Gary Ellerson and I would do our show from Rock and Brews most Monday nights. Not always Monday nights, but most Monday nights. And we believe that we are single-handedly responsible for elevating sales of bread pudding by over 400%. If you've not had the bread pudding, it's like a brick brought to you, and it's drizzled in caramel, and there's whipped cream. It's unbelievably good. And we had that at Rock and Brews. Now, Jason Wilde would be a frequent guest of ours throughout the Packers season. Mm-hmm. And he did say, one of these times I'm going to come down there, I'm going to do my hit with you in person. And we thought, great, that'll be fantastic. We will make sure you are well taken care of. So the night that he comes in, they just happen to be out of bread pudding.
Oh, no.
And I felt awful about the whole thing. And to the point where I said, Jason, I'm going to send you bread pudding. We're going to get bread pudding in your hands at some point. You need to experience what we are experiencing every week. And he said, you're not sending me bread pudding. And that next morning, I took the bread pudding that they gave me at Potawatomi, at Rock and Brews, and I overnighted it to Jason Wilde's home in Green Bay.
You're joking.
By the time Wilde and Tau started the next morning, he had delivered to him bread pudding from Rock and Brews.
That is an incredible story.
It was $56 to overnight bread pudding. Still have the receipt. You can confirm.
56. Did you Venmo request it for half?
I'd thought about expensing it, just for content purposes.
I feel like that would be approved.
I couldn't figure out a good way to bring that up to Greg Scalzo, so I didn't.
Yeah, that's fair.
He more or less heard the story and was appreciative of the content that it delivered. But yes, our guy Jason Wilde wanted to experience bread pudding. We made it happen.
One of our core values at Good Karma Brands is follow through, and you did just that.
Yes.
And I'm proud of you for that. That is an incredible story that I did not know.
It was an expensive story,
I need to, clearly. You don't need to overnight ship me any. We'll be having some bread pudding before I leave the Potawatomi Sportsbook today. So, while I'm at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, though, Greg, I was thinking, Packers over-under win total, 9.5. I like the over. Do I like them enough to place a bet on them to win the NFC as a whole in 2024?
That's really interesting. I would say no on the NFC as a whole. I would go yes on the division.
So you think they're better than the Lions in 24?
I do. I think the Vikings have the Lions have kind of peaked. I kind of feel like they can ride this wave.
I like how you called them the Vikings because the Vikings did just that about less than 10 years ago. A couple of years they were in the mix.
I had Vikings on my mind because they're going to be a transition team, I think, with their offense. But I think the Lions have I think they kind of hit their ceiling last year, and they, to me, were beatable. I see the Packers as an ascending team. I don't think there's much separation between the Packers and Lions.
Agreed.
I like the Packers quarterback better. I might like the Lions defense a little better. I'm not sure about that yet. I hope that's not the case eventually, but I think the Packers can win the division. I don't think they'll be the top seed in the NFC.
I think they're going to be in the mix, though. And I mean,
well, sure. You win your division, you should be, right?
Well, absolutely.
Within a couple of games.
Get a home playoff game at the very least then, and then you see how it all plays out. But, you think back to 2010. It's Aaron Rodgers' second year as a starter. They were the youngest team in the NFL. They were the underdog story, and they won the Super Bowl. I'm not saying the Packers are winning the Super Bowl this year. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But I think this team, led by Brian Gutekunst and the way he's constructed this roster, and to have an offensive-minded head coach who's one of the best young, bright minds in the NFL, you pair that with a guy with a ton of defensive coaching experience in Jeff Hafley, first year as the defensive coordinator. I just think this might look really good. If they can, avoid what they did in October of last year, this could be an 11 or 12-win team that is at the top, to your point, of the NFC and certainly in the mix for the Super Bowl. That's what I feel on May 3rd. Maybe I feel a little bit differently in 3 months when training camp at the preseason is underway. But I love the opportunity the Packers have in front of them with this really young roster and an ascending star quarterback.
Well, and it's still a moldable roster, too, right? So sometimes I think about a coordinator shift, be it on offense or defense, and I wonder, well, how is that player going to fit in? Or I think about Aaron Campman back in the day right? The Packers had a set defensive scheme. Aaron Campman was a Pro Bowl player, and then they switched defensive schemes, and Aaron Campman didn't fit.
Right.
Really productive player. He just didn't fit in the new system. So he was cast away and ended up, I think, in Jacksonville or something. The Packers made their moves. They draft B.J. Raji. They draft Clay Matthews, and that defense takes shape and ultimately wins a Super Bowl. So, you like what they've been able to do over the years in tailoring their personnel to their scheme and system. I don't know exactly what that looks like with the new defensive coordinator, but my guess is there will be players who really thrive in the system and maybe some other players who don't thrive as much. Because that's kind of what a system does.
You're totally right. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? But you want to see the players maximize their opportunities. So many players kind of told me on the record and off, during the days of Dom Capers, just not feeling like I'm being utilized the way that I should. And that existed even in the last couple of years. So remains to be seen, but I like the mindset. I like positionless football.
I do too.
I like big, fast bodies on the field, and I think the Packers have a good number of that.
I think you're totally right on that. Greg Matzik, Alex Strofe with you here on a special edition of Mr. Irrelevant, live from the all-new on the grand opening of the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Justin Arnett, who is the VP of Digital Gaming for Potawatomi. This was his baby. We're going to talk to him next as we wrap it up. It's Mr. Irrelevant right here on ESPN Milwaukee.
More Mr. Irrelevant coming up on 94.5 ESPN.
They say seeing is believing, and when you see what's inside at American Place Casino, you better believe you're gonna love it. Because when it comes to amazing gaming, we're a real game changer. With the most exciting of table games like blackjack, craps, and roulette, the newest slots, a sportsbook, restaurants, bars, and more. So if you're ready for excitement, we'll see you soon. American Place Casino. Change the game.
Must be 21 years of age or older. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537.
All Brewers games are on sale now. Coming up, a divisional battle with the Cardinals Thursday, May 9th through Sunday the 12th. Make your Saturday night plans for Star Wars night. Then take home a Mother's Day Brewers belt bag giveaway at the game on Sunday the 12th. Presented by American Family Insurance. Don't miss out on a weekend of rivalry baseball. Grab your seats at brewers.com/tickets.
What do you get when you combine grilled-to-order deliciousness with only the finest Wisconsin cheeses? Cousin Sub's new Wisconsin cheese steaks, featuring either steak or chicken, bacon, cheddar cheese, sautéed onions, and their new Cheddar Supreme cheese sauce. It's a match made in dairy heaven. And the decadence doesn't stop there. Pair your Wisconsin cheesesteak with their new Orange Dream Shake. All are available for a limited time only. Order in store, online, or via the mobile app. Cousin Subs. We believe in better.
Sarah, we're doing it again for Mother's Day.
We're doing it again? I can't believe we did it the first time.
It's a real rose.
An American Beauty rose.
Completely covered in pure 24-karat gold.
These are amazing!
Or you can get your rose covered in pink gold.
Real gold. Pure gold. And are you ready for this?
I'm never ready for this next part.
$99.
I need to lie down and put a cool rag on my forehead.
A full-size American Beauty rose preserved forever in pure gold.
Wait a minute.
Okay, we're waiting.
Can I buy 2 of them?
Of course.
Wait.
Okay.
Can I buy 3 of them and give 1 to my mom and 1 to my best friend and keep 1 for myself?
Of course you can, Sarah. This is America.
You'll find $99 full-size gold roses at Kessler's. Visit Kessler'sDiamonds.com to find the location nearest you.
Happy Mother's Day!
You're back at the gym. Your new gym outfit? On point. Your new sneakers? Baller. You've got this. Just like Associated Bank's got you with Access Checking. It's maintenance fee-free with no minimum balance requirements. So when you take your first yoga class in 10 months, your body might surprise you, but your checking account won't. You've got this with Access Checking from Associated Bank. See associatedbank.com/checking or ask a banker for details. Member FDIC.
From big tailgate parties to cozy dinners for 2, the freshest ideas start with a stop at Century Foods.
Now through Wednesday, save on 8.8 to 12-ounce selected varieties Kellogg's Kids cereal, 2 for $6. 6 to 24-ounce selected varieties Frito-Lay party-sized chips or dips, 2 for $9. 12-pack cans selected varieties Super Chill soda, $4.49. 64-ounce selected varieties Old Orchard juice, 2 for $5.
throw my glass across the room.
I have to keep practicing.
The vase from Aunt Sophie?
I'm warming up in case I get to take them out at American Family Field. Read this.
Win the ultimate baseball fan experience at Century Foods?
You either get to throw out the first pitch, hold the finish line for the famous racing sausages, or be on the field during batting practice. My new TV!
Just doing a little batting practice of my own.
The ultimate baseball fan experience. Return the entry form found in the weekly ad to any Century by July 24th.
All day, every day, the new Potawatomi Sportsbook is the place to be for wagering on any sport, team, player, or game. A state-of-the-art venue with seating for over 200, a VIP deck, first-class bar, and 2,000-foot video wall. Stop in at any one of the self-service kiosks at Potawatomi Sportsbook today. You're listening to Mr. Irrelevant with Alex Strofe on 94.5 ESPN and streaming live at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Wrapping up a special edition of Mr. Irrelevant with you until 2 o'clock, about 10 more minutes with you at the grand opening of the beautiful Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Alex Strofe. Greg Matzek's been with me for the last hour, and joining us now is the guy who put it all together. Justin Arnett is the Vice President of Digital Gaming here at Potawatomi. And Justin, we were talking a little bit in the break. The day is finally here. You said you're on cloud nine. How's the day been for you?
It's been great. I couldn't ask for a better sort of opening celebration this morning. And then the crowd after we just opened the doors has been great. Seems to be received really well. I'm just excited to share this with Milwaukee.
Finally opening the doors, right? I was talking to Alex before, Justin. We've done shows at Rock and Brews before throughout the football season, myself and Gary Ellerson, and I think we found our new home where we'll be doing football shows this year, and very excited about it. But to see the reaction of folks who walked in the door had to be so satisfying to you. And I walked by this morning or this afternoon walking up to our spot here, and some people just walked into it for the first time and were just kind of, it's like walking into Disneyland, right? You're just turning and looking at everything like, oh my gosh, right here in Milwaukee, we have this.
I love it. It makes me feel really good to see that look. I saw the same look. I saw guys with their cell phones out, taking video. And, I want to tell them, it doesn't show up on video like it does in person. But,
it's true.
Yeah, really, you got to see it to believe it, I think. And I'm excited. We wanted as an organization, my CEO, Dom's got the big vision, and he allowed all this to happen. And we just wanted to build something great for Milwaukee, and I'm hopeful that we did that. I think we did do that. So
I don't want to jump the gun, but Justin, I'd say mission accomplished on that. 2,000 square foot video wall. You can show
greater than 2,000.
2,000
2,200.
I want to get that right. So 2,200 plus square foot.
It's 2160, 18 feet by 120 feet. So do the math.
Math is not my specialty.
Yeah,
so we're just,
that's why we're here, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I lean on the expert. You can show over 30 games at a time, is my understanding.
Something like that. I don't remember what the layout is, but yeah, we have something like 37 different outputs, for different sports, right? We have streaming services, we have cable, we have DirecTV, we have it all.
Who needs Vegas when you have Milwaukee? And you're going to be showing some of the UFC fights as well this weekend.
Yeah, so we decided to just go all the way. If we're going to do it right? So we got the pay-per-views for the UFC through the whole year. We're going to get the really big boxing matches. So, tomorrow night we're going to have both the Canelo fight and the UFC 301 for free. You just have to show up. We'd like you to get a beer or maybe a hamburger or something, but you don't have to. Maybe make a bet, makes it a little bit more fun to watch. But we just want to be the hub for the sports fan in Milwaukee. We just really want to foster that experience.
Alex and I would like to take over the main screen and play some Mario Kart later on, if that's okay. I just want to see what that looks like.
Maybe after hours, if you can get enough drinks in me, maybe I won't. I'll look the other way or something. But
have you toyed around with it yet? Have you done anything like
we haven't actually set up a PlayStation or anything, but that would be. It would be kind of fun. We've talked about it. We joked about it, but we haven't actually done it.
You consciously developed a second floor space for the sports book. So what was the thought process behind making this a multi-leveled sort of thing? That's not common even in the Vegas sports books.
Right. So the original space, it was a theater prior to this, and so we renovated the whole thing. We had to strip it out, and so it already had this kind of built-in mezzanine, and we got to keep that. So it just kind of evolved. And then as we saw the space, I think it's going to be sort of a buyout space, I think. That's what our current vision for the space is, because it's really premium when you're up here on this balcony looking. You just see everything. It's very comfortable. So we want it to be sort of for maybe big groups or something. You could like do a nice buyout. We have a great bar with a good food layout, so you can we can fully cater it. We have great F&B staff and food here, so we just want to give an option to have host large events.
I was looking at the food menu before, Justin. The kitchen at the Sportsbook is the name of the kitchen, and you said it's one of the things you're most proud of that came out of this process.
Yeah, the food. I mean, our F&B team with our executive chef Ben Jones and Ron Hall, our VP, they really put together just a great menu. I think they're probably losing money on the deal. We want to make it approachable, because they top-notch products. But that's the thought, right? We really want to get you in the space and just have a good time. We feel like if we get people here and they're having a good time, the rest will take care of itself.
So what have you sampled that stands out?
Boy, everything I've had is very good. The fried chicken, it's this special a broaster machine or something.
Okay.
When you eat the chicken, literally it drips juice out. I mean, it's extremely good. The cheese sticks are very good. The brock, it's like a cauliflower, fried cauliflower.
Oh yeah,
a hot, spicy It's
I love that.
outstanding. It's very good. Honestly, I haven't had, and I'm not the guy who just says that. I'm kind of a straight shooter. Everything's been very good.
I was touting the bread pudding before because that was a staple of our visits to Rock and Brews.
Yeah.
I said I think Gary and I are responsible for elevating sales of bread pudding by 400%.
Yeah.
It got to the point where I was FedExing it to friends, they needed to try it. I'm not making that up. And I'm happy to see that on the menu here.
We have donuts that probably went through 15 iterations. It was a
really?
joke internally. No, we got to do it again. And what we ended up on are very good. Just little donut. I mean, everything is just, we put a lot of time and R&D. I think I grew an inch on the waistline testing stuff. No, they did a great job, the F&B team, and I'm pretty excited about all the food. And it's a huge menu, too.
Yeah, it's
right?
huge. It's huge. Multiple pages, great options, and as you mentioned, top-level ingredients. Justin Arnett, the VP of Digital Gaming here at Potawatomi and Potawatomi Sportsbook with us. We got about 2 minutes, Justin, so just bring me into your mind from when this all began as a pipe dream to now, the official grand opening today. What is that process been like for you?
Well, it's just been incredible. I can't wait, right? People would say, oh, I like the temporary space, and I'm thinking to myself, I hate this temporary. I shouldn't say that probably, but kind of felt that way.
Yeah.
It's I couldn't wait till we got I was like, wait till you see what we have for you. And I've just been chomping at the bit. It's been a long year coming before we got this year plus before we got the permanent book open. So it's more it's been Christmas Eve for a year plus for me, just waiting for this to get open. So I'm just excited that we finally got it here. And I'm looking on to the next step. We're trying to build a mobile app so you can sit in the space and bet from your phone in play. We want to do it the right way, right? And so I'm working on that.
Do I talk to you to reserve a recliner 24/7? Are you the guy to talk to for that?
So you could talk to me. I'll take it. Definitely, I'll take care of you. We're working on a reservation system. We're still, we've still got some pieces that are coming together. That'll eventually be on our website, on the Sportsbook's website, and you can reserve seats and all the and everything. So we're still working on that.
Well, that's terrific. Justin Arnett, the VP of Digital Gaming. Congratulations. Enjoy today, man.
Thank you very much.
A great day.
I'm already enjoying. I'm going to grab this drink back up. Try to be responsible.
There you go.
Yeah, congrats. No, you deserve it, right? You could deserve to celebrate here. It's been a long time coming.
Thanks. Yeah, we're having a good time out there.
That's Justin Arnett from the Potawatomi Casino Hotel, the VP of Digital Gaming. That does it for us today at the grand opening of the Potawatomi Sportsbook. A big thanks to Justin Garcia, who joined me in the 12 o'clock hour. Greg Matzek, I rarely get to hang out with you for an hour long. This was terrific. Thanks
This was fun, right? I'm usually on 11 to 1 on WTMJ with Wisconsin's Midday News, and you're kind of in your prep mode, spilling into KBN from 2 to 5. So it's been good being a part of this with you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for doing it. And as he mentioned, Kyle Bruston-Nortman, KBN, coming up next right here from the Potawatomi Sportsbook, live and local till 7 o'clock tonight on 94.5 ESPN.
Wade versus Diener is coming, a 2-day event that features activities where Dwayne Wade and Travis Diener compete with your help to raise